It turns out this works better.
It's Food Hall Week, as the Flyers are set to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're ticking our way down to the end of this 2021-2022 season. It'll end on Friday. 2 home games left, including today's. Flyers will head to Chicago today after this game to take on the Blackhawks tomorrow. Wednesday in Winnipeg, Friday against Ottawa here at Wells Fargo Center. Brian, let's start here today, because I know a lot of people are perplexed as to why Felix Sandstrom is not getting the start today. And I got to admit, I'm kind of perplexed too. I think I know the reason. It's the back-to-back, and they'll play him tomorrow, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't seen him over the past couple of games, and I thought we'd see him a little more here while you play out the string. Maybe you're trying to screw things up for the Penguins a little bit and make them a wild card team and have to face Florida in the first round because you don't like the Pens no matter what.
Yeah, that could be.
That's the only logic I can come up with.
There's a lot going on right now with this team in terms of looking at certain guys and trying to evaluate and stuff like that. But I feel like at some point too, they have to create a winning environment in order to do that. You can't properly evaluate a player, I don't think, if you're getting shelled 7-0. And I'm not saying that would happen if Felix Sandstrom was in net today, but I felt like...
Well, the same's going to happen whether Jones is in net.
Right. I felt like last game out in Montreal, again, that was the prime opportunity to take a look at him, you would think, with the Canadiens being, down there with the Flyers in the standings and all that. But the Flyers at that point were trotting out 3 defensemen that had played fewer than 15 NHL games. And I felt like the combination of that plus Felix Sandstrom was a little bit too much to stomach in that particular setting. Here today, again, it is the back half of a first half of a back-to-back. I would say it's almost 100% certainty that you would see him tomorrow. And then, they could even choose to run him the rest of the way. You've got Winnipeg on Wednesday. You've got a day off in between that, and then coming back with another lottery team in Ottawa on Friday. So again, they could just run them the rest of the way. They could just not avoid they may not split them and just give them the last 3. I don't know. What the other thing with the other night was that Martin Jones had such good numbers against Montreal, but I think the Flyers knew that Carey Price was going to play the way he did that night. That they probably maybe just to put Sandstrom out there then, but it might be just another situation here where they put the experience behind a very inexperienced defense for one more game. Sandstrom did play last night, I think, or the night before. What
Friday.
Day is it? Sunday? Yeah, he played Friday. So he has gotten some action in the last.
So that may be why he's
36 hours.
Not going.
Sure.
Today.
Yeah. So
he just played and give him an extra day, and he'll play against Chicago tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think that he'll play the remaining 3 after today, but I think he will get 2 of them.
Yeah, I would definitely say he would definitely get 2 of them. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you could run them all 3 if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Just in terms of
spread,
the way it's spread out. Yeah. There's no more back-to-backs after this one. And Winnipeg is, they're not down where the Flyers in Ottawa are, but they're an opponent he could handle.
Yeah, and it's like it kind of ruffled me at first, but when you kind of think about it and you go, okay, there is a back-to-back, and if he is going to play 2 of the remaining 4, then I'm certainly fine with it, and that will be the case. Maybe he gets Chicago and Ottawa on Friday, and you give Martin Jones Wednesday. So it makes some sense if you look at it that way. But just looking at the whole picture, you'd like to see the guy a little bit more because you got to make a decision. I mean, he is a Group 6 unrestricted free agent, so you got to make a decision on him. Is he coming back? I don't know. Do they have to – even if he plays the remaining 3 games after today, you're not going to have enough information to go, he's my backup next year. Right. I don't think. Yeah. At this point in the year, that wouldn't be enough information for me.
I think personally, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, I am evaluating him based on do you make him the number 3 next year? Are you comfortable enough with his development to be the main guy in Lehigh Valley? and then he's the one that comes up if Carter or whoever the backup is last year is injured. I would give him that consideration. I think you're right. There's just a little bit too little info on him to consider him for a full-time backup role at this point.
It's a big roll of the dice if you do.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
For not much savings too, by the way.
Right.
He's going to get
not much savings over what they're paying Jones right now.
Yeah,
that's making the assumption they can get another goaltender next year for that price, which they probably can. I mean, it might be Jones. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple questions here. One of them is, Jones has played well enough this year that he could decide that he wants to take another run at being a starter. So if he decides he wants to do that, then that would certainly be his prerogative to do so. The other question that be answered is, like you said, with Sandstrom, he is a Group 6 unrestricted free agent, which means essentially that he has not been played enough in the NHL at this point in his career for the Flyers to retain his rights as a restricted free agent.
Yeah,
he is.
So he becomes unrestricted by proxy.
So that's what that comes down to. So he has to decide, okay, do I like my situation here, or do I want to go to another organization and see if we can, raise my career from that perspective. So there's a couple of things that work there, and it's going to be part of a lot of decisions that the Flyers have to make here over the next few months.
Yeah, and when I look at Martin Jones, I go, okay, is there the likelihood that he's going to sign a contract as a starter? And maybe look at a couple of teams like Ottawa or Buffalo. Could he start there? I mean, Buffalo starting Craig Anderson and Tokarski. So yeah, but is that going to be the situation next year? He's probably more ticketed for that backup part as a 1B now at this point in his career. And if you're okay doing that, you can make a lot of money for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a ton of wear and tear.
I don't think there is.
Sign me up.
I don't think that Jones is at the point in his career where he's going to draw any kind of like $5 million a year contract or anything like that. He's probably going to draw the same money regardless of whether he's a starter or a backup. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but there does come a time in your life when it's like, all right, I've made enough money that it doesn't necessarily matter how much I make on this next contract. Maybe from just a personal achievement thing, he wants to be a starter. But I would think that maybe for Jones, again, not knowing him all that well, his primary goal would be to, be on a cup contender. Whether he can find a fit like that might be more of a factor as to where he goes or if he stays than what he's going to get paid. So if he's becomes convinced, if that's the case, and becomes convinced that the Flyers are indeed going to have a quick turnaround here, a quick retool, if you will, maybe he stays. If it's the case and he doesn't think that's going to happen, he might go. So there's a lot of different factors, I think, at work overall in this whole thing.
Absolutely. And it's the Flyers and the Penguins today. They'll wrap up the season series. The Pens ticketed for the postseason once again, and that's been a rite of spring for the most part for the Penguins ever since drafting Sidney Crosby, Marc-Andre Fleury. Back in 2003 was Andre Fleury, Malkin, and that core with Letang and Malkin, Crosby, and prior with obviously Fleury. But they're without Tristan Jarry. It's going to be Louis Domingue today versus Martin Jones, and they're hoping they get Jarry back for the playoffs. I think he's week to week right now.
Okay.
But the Penguins are, this game has some meaning. They've won their last 2, but over their last 10, they're 4-5-1. And right now they got the Washington Capitals 2 points back with a game in hand, the Caps. And you don't want to fall into that wild card position, because if you do, you're likely going to draw the Florida Panthers, who have the best record in the NHL now, over a team like the New York Rangers. There's probably no good path for the Penguins, but would you rather take on the Rangers, who have been really good of late and obviously are a really good team, second spot in the Metro, maybe even vying for that top spot? They're only 2 points back at Carolina. Or you're going to draw Florida, where an old friend, Claude Giroux, is there, and they can renew that rivalry with Crosby and Giroux via a different jersey for Giroux.
Yeah, absolutely. They only have 2 games left after this, too. A little bit shorter left of runway than the Flyers do. And also Washington, like you mentioned, has that game in hand there. If I'm Pittsburgh, I want to avoid the Florida Panthers at all costs. I have no interest in that whatsoever.
13 straight, sorry.
Florida, to me, they strike me as a team that is, again, we talked about teams being, too good headed into the playoffs and the Tampa effect. But I just feel like the way they're scoring goals, they're going to buzzsaw through any first-round opponent that has even a smidge of a question about their goaltending. They're just gonna, they're just gonna come right through like a buzzsaw. The other options for Pittsburgh, whether it's the Rangers or Carolina, I mean, either of those to me are much more palatable at this point, especially considering now that Carolina might have some goaltending questions after last night, or is it earlier today that Raanta got hurt? Anderson's already banged up.
Yeah.
Raanta, I believe it was earlier. Life just blends together at this point. It might have been earlier today that Raanta got hurt, and that guy with the unpronounceable name, it was in for the second straight day after playing yesterday.
Maybe Alex Lyon gets the call up.
Alex Lyon is going to be licking his chops, at this point. So
playing behind the team too.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Pittsburgh, I would much rather have either of those two teams than any sense of what might happen if they had to go to Florida.
Florida's lost one time since Drew's been there.
Drew was crazy.
Drew was part of a 13-game winless skid here and a 10-game. Now they've won 13 straight in Florida. Talk about going from the outhouse to the penthouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that team has been unbelievable. He's been putting up huge numbers for me. He had a 3-point game yesterday, a goal and 2 assists. And Florida, I don't know if I've ever seen this, but I mean, they're plus 104 on goal differential. Oof. Let's take a break. We got to take a break. I'm going on and on. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, get you ready for Flyers Penguins at the top of the hour with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates. We're back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. And Flyers game day. Flyers and Penguins coming up at the top of the hour. National broadcast today, too, huh? So Kenny Albert in the house tonight. Keith Jones, a big star, Keith Jones on national television.
He is a legend in his own mind, isn't he? That's absolutely – no, he's not.
I got to take him to eyeglass shopping.
He's a legend in a lot of minds. You should also take him tie shop.
Yeah, well, he's been wearing the same one all year.
Yeah, because it has to stay tied.
Yeah.
He just takes it off and puts it back on.
So Coatsy ties him his tie in the beginning of the year, and he never unties it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do it too, but just that's a hurdle.
Yeah,
for tie selection for him. But yeah, it's TNT today if you're looking for the telecast, and it's an earlier start than we're used to. They actually do these really early puck drops on TNT, so 4:03.
We like that.
The puck is. We do like that. Don't need to sit around and wait for lots of things to happen on a pregame show.
Yeah. Let's get right to
our half-hour-long pregame
show. Let's get right to the business as quick as possible.
Yep.
Let's look at the Penguins real quick because, once again, they're being led by the same guy who's been leading them forever and a day, and that is Sidney Crosby. In 66 games this year, how about 30 goals, 53 assists, and 83 points? And he just keeps on ticking. Just keeps going.
I know that everybody knew in 2005 that he was good. I don't know if anybody realized
he would be
this good. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody realized that Ovechkin would be this good. If I remember watching that lottery. Remember it was the lockout itself.
Yeah.
Finally came to a close, and the Flyers had been to the conference final in 2004, so they were way down.
Beat the Leafs to go there.
Yep. That's one of my 4 other seasons, by the way, that they should have won the Stanley Cup was 2004. In my little fantasy world that I'm living in, but they were way down on the list, and you knew they weren't going to. I think it was Steve Downey in that draft, but again. And going into that draft, too, I mean, it's the first time anybody is dealing with what was a $39 million salary cap. Can you believe that number? Like, that just seems
Outdoor Life Network had the national rights.
It just seems like a bad dream at this point.
That's basically McDavid and Draisaitl.
Right. So you would think if that draft had happened like 2 years earlier, the old Flyers way would have been just to go pry that draft pick away from the Penguins.
Yeah, not that they would have traded it.
Probably not. But that would have been interesting if he'd been a year or two older. But I mean he's literally changed the franchise, and in my opinion, probably changed it more than Mario Lemieux has. Even if you don't consider the fact that Lemieux bought it out of bankruptcy, that effect.
As a player,
pretty profound, but just in terms of what the Penguins were.
By the way, Ed Snyder helped bail them out of bankruptcy too.
Yeah. So, but you remember what they were? We don't remember. We were like 8, but we've read about what the Penguins were like in 1984 when Lemieux came in.
I was 12,
and what he made them into.
Yeah,
I think where they were in 2005 when Crosby came in, and what he has made them into now is even more profound, I think, than the effect that Lemieux had on it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's been playing forever. We remember him as Sid the Kid. No longer a kid. He's 34 years of age. He'll be 35 coming up in August on 8/7. He was born 8/7, 87. That's hence the 87, the jersey number. And as much as trendy it is to hate him here in Philadelphia, to me, in my experience watching the game, he's a top 5 player of all time.
Oh, absolutely. So, and he's also a terrific individual if you ever talk to him off the ice.
Wasn't like that early in his career.
No,
yes.
He's matured into that. Yeah. I mean, the lasting memory that a lot of Flyers fans have was, that first month of that 05-06 season when he came in here for the first time and got into it with Darian Hatcher.
Yeah.
That started the Philly-Pittsburgh disdain, if you will. I mean, there probably was a little bit of a rivalry before that, but, the Flyers' big rivals in the years leading up to that point were the Rangers, the Capitals, even.
Yeah.
The
Devils.
Islanders, Devils. The Penguins are pretty far down the list, I think, just in terms of regional rivalries, because they were never any good when the Flyers were good.
Yeah.
And then when the Penguins were good, the Flyers weren't any good. That was the one stretch there where they missed 5 years in a row. So that rivalry, with the exception maybe of, it started probably with that 2000 series, the 5 overtime game, all that stuff. It started to catch a little bit there, but that particular contest, that first game, really was a huge spark in lighting what really is still a great rivalry today. It's why this game is on national TV. It was picked probably 4 months ago as one that would have had been a huge one in the ramifications in the playoffs at this time of year. At least that's what was expected.
Yeah, and it'll be the first time the Flyers face the Pens without Giroux.
It is. Yeah.
Let's take our last time out. We'll come back with more, getting you set for Flyers and Penguins at the Wells Fargo Center. Back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. All right, just a further couple moments here before we turn it over to Tim Saunders and to Steve Coates. It's the Flyers and the Penguins today, and no Giroux versus Crosby. This will be a little different.
It's going to be missing something.
Sid's going to be going, where's he at?
So I don't know who might step up into that role. We've seen a lot of guys step up into roles since that happened. I did you happen to see the video the Flyers posted recently of Scott Lawton mic'd up?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, I love that.
Yeah.
So if that's going to start happening regularly from him, that's going to changed him as a player, I think.
Yeah, well, he can get after it with the mouth, too. All right, Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they've got the countdown to face off. All the first period action between the Flyers and the Penguins right here. You're listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Enjoy your hockey, everybody.